A remote Bavarian farmhouse. In the dead of night, 6 people are murdered. Days later, the killer freely lives in the home, feeding the animals, stoking fires, eating meals. No arrest. No confession. This is Hinterkaifeck, one of Germany's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. Welcome to Cryptic Veritas. Today, we're diving into one of Europe's most chilling unsolved crimes, the 1922 Hinterkaifeck murders. We'll explore the strange events that led up to that night, what investigators discovered, and the theories that continue to spark debate today. At the end, I'll ask you, which theory do you think is most likely? Hinterkaifeck was a small farmstead located about 70 kilometers north of Munich, Bavaria. The family who lived there consisted of Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria Gabriel, Victoria's 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph, and their maid, Maria Baumgartner. It was a quiet, isolated life. But in March of 1922, that isolation turned deadly. In the months before the tragedy, unsettling things began happening at Hinterkaifeck. The family's previous maid quit, claiming she heard footsteps in the attic and felt the house was haunted. Andreas Gruber discovered a newspaper on the property that no one recognized, and strange footprints were seen leading from the forest toward the farm, but not back again. The family even reported hearing noises in the attic, but Andreas dismissed help from neighbors. All of these eerie warnings would soon take on a chilling meaning. On March 31st, a new maid, Maria Baumgartner, arrived for her very first day of work. Tragically, it would also be her last. That evening, one by one, members of the family were lured into the barn, where they were struck down with a mattock, a heavy farming tool. Andreas, his wife Cecilia, daughter Victoria, and little Cecilia were all found in the barn. Inside the house, the maid Maria was killed in her room, and young Joseph was found dead in his cradle. 6 people, wiped out in a single night. But perhaps the most disturbing part? The killer or killers didn't flee. For days after the murders, neighbors noticed smoke rising from the chimney. Livestock were fed, food was eaten, and fires were kept burning. Whoever was responsible, they lived in the house with the victims' bodies only steps away. It wasn't until April 4th, 4 days later, that neighbors finally entered the farm. A local mechanic, Albert Hofner, had tried to fix a machine and grew suspicious when no one answered the door. Soon after, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a neighbor, entered the barn with others and discovered the stacked bodies. The horrific scene stunned the small Bavarian community. Inspector George Reingruber led the investigation, but from the very start, the case was mishandled. Curious neighbors and onlookers swarmed the farm, contaminating the scene. The autopsies were carried out in the barn itself. The murder weapon was never recovered at the time, though years later a mattock was found hidden in the attic. With no clear forensic evidence, investigators had to rely on witness statements and theories. Over the years, several theories have emerged. The neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer. As one of the first to discover the bodies, some speculated he knew more than he admitted. He also had a complicated relationship with Victoria, the daughter. The Gabriel family. Extended relatives of Victoria's deceased husband were suspected by some, possibly motivated by property disputes. A former servant. Some theorized an ex-employee returned to take revenge, or out of desperation. A series of rural crimes. In that era, other farm attacks had taken place in the region, suggesting a roaming killer or group could be responsible. But no theory has ever been proven, and no one was ever charged. Several factors doomed the case from the beginning. The crime scene was heavily disturbed before police could secure it. Forensic science at the time lacked tools we rely on today, like DNA. Witness statements were inconsistent, and key evidence was later destroyed when the farm was demolished. With so many unanswered questions, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the most baffling unsolved cases in European history. So, what do you think? Was it the neighbor with a hidden motive? A family dispute turned deadly? Or a stranger who simply vanished back into the forest? Let me know your theory in the comments. If you found this case intriguing, subscribe to Cryptic Veritas for more unsolved mysteries and true crime stories from around the world. Because some mysteries refuse to sleep.